Thinking about that TikTok ban, I did recently go on to TikTok myself. I put the daily readings there. Hi, if you're brand new here, I'm MJ. I'm the founder of Ultra Love. We do a lot of tarot, but over the years, there's a lot of spiritual awakening shares. There's a lot of shares about my book and practicing the Fearless Life Guide. Lots of sharing around my yoga, meditation, breathwork journey. You're welcome to check out the website where you can book private readings, check out the online courses. My Patreons, my top tier Patreons get ad-free first access. They also get access to the Be the Change courses upon request. Lower tier just get the ad-free first access. We do endeavor to do a weekly reading for patrons, and we also offer the monthly readings where I don't always publicize those on the YouTube. Lots of changes on our horizon here, coming quick. I titled this the Saturn and Neptune, 2025 live reading, because in my awareness, that Neptunian signature transiting Pisces is really the dissolution of an old consciousness, that the way we dream, and or you could say the dream spell by which we're all kind of like bound by, is like sort of, I almost see it like dispersing into the void. So, and that would be relevant to the words or expressions like disclosure, break down to break through, that we kind of like see everything and then have to snap back into a kind of new energetic awareness. And certainly you could say this is an integrative phase for the psychics, the seers, the oracles, people that have maybe been pushed to the side, or like the fringe, or even the way the way we hold space for things like addiction and poverty, and all of that is kind of just opening up, and there's a sense of increasing compassion really to move through the Aries transit. So then obviously there's a Saturn and Neptune conjunction, and the messages I was getting about that was really powerful, because it's like there's a complete dissolution of the old paradigm, and then here we have Saturn going, that's okay, we can do it like this, and we can do it like this. And certainly from my perspective and the Ultra Love perspective, it's that Saturn is invoking a discipline so that we can build in this new energy, as Neptune has sort of cleaned our mind of illusion. And that's going to hopefully, within a sort of high vibration or more empathic community, help to guide us via compassion. There's an amazing yoga sutra. I say it a lot, but it's the compassion piece around understanding through compassion, or you misunderstand the times. And I'm almost like hyper aware of that our programmed reactivity gets us nowhere often, except for being in pattern of reactivity. And until we hold space for ourselves to change the reaction, which in my personal experience and what I wrote the book about, it's like often we have to alchemize some deeper emotions like grief, shame, sadness, right? Whatever more painful or dense emotion is underneath say angry trigger. Now, I speak to observing, which requires self-reflection, but I speak to observing our emotional patterns. So when we look at our lives and we go, okay, I do this, this, and this, or when I go into that environment, I get triggered, or this person triggers me whenever they loop around. So what we do in our consciousness is observe the trigger in our imagination, in reflection, right? So that we can get better and better at catching the trigger when it happens, right? When that person, when that thing, and then we can go, okay, we can work with this. We can hold space for our emotional reactions so that it's like burning through them. And, with Pluto opposing Mars as it goes back, and again, it would depend on where it's going back in your chart, but that Pluto opposition is really shining to us our reactivity, but bearing in mind when we're highly volatile, yes, or highly reactive, we're not going to be able to see clearly, and actually the reaction keeps us bound to the pattern. Okay, so like it's the moment that we're able to go, oh wait, here it is, here's the trigger, and the mind wants to usually blame and victimize ourselves and that person shouldn't have come, whatever it might be. The mind is like the ego aspect, right? The part of us, I guess, that wants to protect the pattern as a self-identification piece. So when we're holding space and we can see the trigger, and instead of reacting the way we normally would, which is usually getting into a fight or going and getting a drink or going out and partying with our mates because, screw life or whatever, it's like holding space for ourselves to go, this is a trigger, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling what have you, and then being able to sit with it. And that's the power point. People talk about the power of now. That's what all this Shazam is talking to. It's what Carl Jung talked about when he talked about shadow work. So instead of just engaging in the status quo of reactivity, of blaming and attacking one another, we alchemize the energy and empower. Because usually these entangled patterns are actually to do with our power. That's what codependency is. It's giving my power to that person because I get this and then they get that, and then our power isn't full as an individual. It's under the illusion of thinking that we're fulfilling. So like even just the modern day couple paradigm often is the case that being in a couple is seen as this thing, and yet who are we? This is again the ultimate spiritual quest, is that who are we sans relationship, sans like identified career? I'm just a blob of like cellular activity, right? With a certain consciousness, with a certain point of attraction that's had certain experiences, including emotional alchemy, that allow this sort of to or allows myself to speak, right? To kind of allow a channel of information to come through. And yet again, there was a sense of like allowing that to come from a place of discipline and to share from a place of love, right? And that's it's where it's like so no, whatever, like over the years it's this real thing of like when we lighten up, when we empower, when we if we're not aware enough, like people can really do a number on us as far as like picking us apart or really challenging us. And that's why knowing the self and coming back into self and like in a very real, like practical, logical way, who are we here for? What are we doing as a species, as a people? And sometimes I drop into this space of like just pure luxury from this place of like simplicity and honoring planet Earth and like loving the birds and the bees and the trees and the body and like the grass and the soil, and like being in that communication with Earth energy is like peaceful and loving. And then it really fractures and or sets apart this like the weird like matrix reality, just the consumerist capitalist like shop shop shop, work 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 work, shop shop, be special, like this weird Hollywood game. And like I think there's authenticity, okay, so there's beauty everywhere, but there's a shadow often with that projection. Just like you could say, well, as a very obvious example, like, oh, the American dream, let's all live the American dream. And yet the shadow of that is you look at like these things happening in the world of Hollywood with that Einstein fella and then that Diddy dude and like, that's a shadow, a big ugly shadow that this whole idea of being a star, let's be a star and let's like entertain people. And I'm not dissing on the entertainment, music and creating music, and there's talent there. It's just that if we let people just run amok and have more power than they, or simply, okay, let's, like, we can commend somebody for their talent, but if they're a horrible human being, we probably wouldn't be buying a lot of their stuff. And I think this is what we're all having to like wake up from and break free from, is our own delusion, but like delusion of disempowerment, as in thinking that anybody out there is better or worse than you, right? Like we're all just reflecting each other. We're all, in a sense, these innocent humans just being like, trying to survive, right? Trying to survive on this planet. And we talk about things like evolution. Now, we all have an individuated spark of consciousness that connects us the totality, right? Connects us to God. So it's like, if we are evolving and thus transforming, one, I would say evolution is a large link to adaptability, being flexible, but that includes the flexibility of our own mental landscape. The mental is intrinsically intertwined with the emotional body. Who somebody I'll listen to podcasts or read books and kind of question often in my own mind, and um they're talking about emotions. Oh, it was one of my fave astrologers, Cam White, and I think one of his most recent weekly shares, fantastic. He goes off on one, it's bloody brills. But then he was going off on one, being like, emotions don't matter, or emotions aren't real. And I'm like, well, they're as real as anything else. The blip, I would say, or the trick, is that our emotions are real and they're intricately connected to our waveform thinking or looped thinking, as in our mind emotion body complex is a unified field of creation. And why is shadow work so relevant? Because creative potential is relevant. Our desire to create our own reality is relevant. People are seeking that empowerment piece, and it would appear that empowerment piece has us going through some pretty profound and potentially ancestral disempowered emotional reactions, and thus perceiving ourselves through the lens of separation instead of through the lens of unity, and allowing the sort of higher consciousness aspect of self, which is love and compassion and to take hold of the life force. So I surrender my individual will, not to be some sort of spiritual martyr, but to empower my highest potential, because increasingly on this path I can see that I'm not going to work it out. I want to do good for the planet. I want to, you know, make the world a better place. My singular little mind isn't going to like work that out. And increasingly what I'm aware of is like trying to fix people, even to a certain degree helping people. It doesn't necessarily get the effect that we think it's going to get, and often is the case that we're helping or doing good from some either sense of obligation or like guilt. And again, these are emotional frequencies that were usually programmed ancestrally and then in our own personal life. Pardon me. I'm getting a little better. I can see Michelle. I'm getting a little better. I often, I used to go live on the tube a lot. And I gotta say, like, I tend to just like, my eyes will scan the comments, but I tend to not engage with the comments too much, just because of all the trolls and like essentially people just coming on here and talking razzmatazz or you know, saying some pretty harsh things. So at the minute, I can tell that there's no moderators. And over the years, we've had different clubs and different kind of private group sessions, and essentially, like, quite a few people that engage here have become good internet friends and trusted people. So there's quite a few people that hang out here that do the kind of moderating, which means, like, if you're gonna spew hatred toward this community or towards myself, it's like an automatic block, an automatic, you know, go away from this channel. We don't need that energy, right? I'm pulling cards. There's a sense of moving forward here with the Chariot, being guided. Wow, there's a lot of positive major arcana cards here. And I'm looking at this as a signature of these transiting Saturn and Neptune energies. Justice and reward moving forward. Is something getting cut out here? Total rebirth or a brand new world. I would say you got to keep moving forward rather than going back to the past, or rather, you know, we're talking about all this like empowerment stuff. And so she, the Queen of Swords, is super duper empowered, being guided by fairness, balance, justice, and higher spiritual goals. But it's like as soon as you step forward, it could feel like things have not gone your way. It's like making a move and going, oh no, what am I doing? Feeling a little disempowered. This is healing the mother wound. I think some of you might be focused on turning ideas into reality. That's another big thing that we'll keep an eye out for. Dream big, my lovers. Keep going, dream big. The Neptune moving into also, okay, so we've got the nodal transit, I think, happening maybe today. So the nodes are moving into Pisces, right? Pisces and Virgo axis. And then when the North Node hits up Neptune, it's going to transit over Neptune. It's going to conjunct Neptune. And then there's going to be a big Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It's like, these are stamps. These are time stamps. These are like, all right, North Node, and then Neptune, what have you been deluluing on? What have you been dreaming up? Okay, like, okay, there's been a lot of like tension in our charts, collectively and probably personally. There's all that tension, so it's like, and now what? And now what, right? And so the Neptune, once that North Node hits up against Neptune, and then bosh, Saturn comes to conjunct it, it's like, okay, here you go. This is what you got to be working with. This is the energy that you're going to put firmly down on the ground. This is what you're manifesting. A certain part of you knows it. For a lot of you, it's clear thinking and more money or more stability or more access to more resources. It's a sense too of autonomy. The North Node that's been transiting through Aries is pushing us into our personal autonomy, simply because it's a healthier, more divine or aligned perspective of a world of responsible creators. Here's the thing too, we talk about all these sort of expansive, progressive, capitalist kind of ideations of our human future and intergalactic this, that, and the other. And yet there's a large shift with regards to perspective. You know, paradigm shift is perspective. That's to do with our belief systems as a collective human race radically transforming. So we used to have these belief systems of politics and democracy and economy. And now we're going, as in we've created these constructs that have now enslaved us. So now we're looking at our enslavement and this weird dystopian oligarch and kind of like just weird controller, like these controller race and everybody like, so all of that is coming undone So you look at those in kind of constellations, and then that gets triggered out of all of us to empower all of us to be more free and more awakened and more empathic and more compassionate and more, like vulnerable. But also we become the alchemists. We become the power in our lives. And from an empathic, loving, heart center point of view, power has nothing to do with control. Do. Power has nothing to do with control. True power is like, to me, like having access to a place of peace, having access to the feeling, sensing connection to your own body. That's powerful. Why? Because there's a lot of sick people in the world that don't have that feeling connection. They don't know. They can't feel. Thus, in a sense, they're not really engaged in the human relationship. They're like a juvenile or like a child just trying to take all the other people and play with them or something, control them. And this is something where it's releasing. I don't control. It's like simply through the feeling space of being a human on this planet and feeling into the pain, the endless war cycles, these weird power structures, these awful power dynamics between people, between nation states, the way we've divided up the planet and pretended like we own stuff, the way we're trying to land grab and own the air and own the water, and yet we're all just these divine sparks that come to inhabit here and have an experience of our human condition. So when you think about it, like, there can be so much change. Let's go for it. Let's step into that change. Let's all express ourselves more. And this is the thing about like art and divine downloads and expressing from our heart and sharing from our heart and being the presence we wish to see in the world is the Hala Shazam. And even though we might see things crumble, we might see things just Hala, endeavor to be present rather than dissociate. I'm right there with you, right? Endeavor to be with it all rather than bury one's hand in the sand, right? Or not. Who am I? Listen to yourself. Some days we need to bury hands in sand. And this is nothing to like, you need to know what's going on in the world. No, you need to know what's going on within self. If anything, we're much too heady. We're much too, thought oriented. Like, I'm think, therefore I am. No, you just are. Thinking doesn't have to be a part of it. Thinking, we become dominant thinkers, and yet the feelers and the beers. And this is part of it too. The Neptunian signature moving into Aries is about to light up all the psychic work that we all have been doing. Like generationally, but just sort of cosmically, any of us that are mission oriented, any of us that have been triggered into like spiritual awakenings, this is like the big lessons, right? From about 2011 I started teaching yoga like properly. And well, that's not true. I was teaching in 2008 when Pluto moved into Capricorn, but my career started to kind of lift off when Neptune moved into Pisces. So that and the yoga practice, I have no doubt, is what's helped to ground the awareness into my body so that my body is an effective channel for discerning and disseminating the language that can help assist in this entire process. Like, more and more and more people are endeavoring to wake up. Hala hala. Divine guidance, loving clarity. Oh, look, Ace of Cups, no new beginning. Ace of Wands, new beginning. Energetics, you guys, energetics. We're in an inception. We're in a closing and an inception, okay? It's like growing our garden. Some of you might be in a no contact with either an air sign or an earth sign. This possibly looks a little, I don't know. It's like a couple that are just distracted, kind of doing their individual things. It's like you have your back turned to your partner right now, if you're partnered up. Or maybe like there's a friend or there's a work situation where you're like, you don't know, you're both kind of on a different trajectory. You might end up splitting. There could be things going in different directions here. And again, Mars retrograde, Cancer is like how we feel safe and possibly how we relate to other, and like our home and our roots and our nest. And so the discordant, you know, the things in our personal reality that are a little discordant, yes, if there's no resolution, if there's no, you know, moving things forward in a positive note, then it's likely that these two people are likely just to kind of drift apart. There's no indications here of this being some sort of profound union. There's rather like a let go of this world, let it die out, let yourself possibly like distance from one another, and then heal. Chariot's moving you forward. There's 2 Chariot cards here. This is significant. 2 Chariot, 7. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, you guys. If you've liked it, I really appreciate. Part of this is building the brand and sharing the products with you guys. So please do give her a like and also hit the subscribe, and pardon me, tell everybody else, tell all your friends to subscribe as well and support these small brands that just people with earnest intention to assist and heal. It's annoying though, right? Because like I wish there was some quick fix pill I could give you. I wish I could just tell you, do this, then you will be free. It's just not gone that way, you guys. I mean, there was times, you know, when you're a teenager and you think you know everything, and then you get thrown out into the world and you're like, holy fuck, you know? It's like that in this spiritual dimension stuff. It's a constant like, I know nothing. Oh, I think I know a little bit. No, you don't. You know nothing. And you're like, just be this sort of blank open space. Be a blank open canvas for this divine reality to work through you. And that's a big part of the regenesis is I've alchemized my old self. I've alchemized and transformed my old reality. I'm still myself. I've just had like a system upgrade. And now my personal reality, I live more in the countryside. I live more in the quietude. I'm able to sustain. I'm able to, you know, and but my whole life before, everything else has just sort of, that was an expression for just falling apart. You know, in many ways, like I've got some good friends and I've got some amazing, lovely clients, but like my entire reality looks different. And even though I'm still healing from the intensity of that transformation, I'm aware that I'm living how I want to, and that there's sustainability and there's spirituality and there's a sense of freedom. And so even my psychic reading, she was like, oh, you're on the path of liberation. I'm like, hello. Sorry. I'm not sorry, though, actually. I'm hearing something about, because you say falling apart or falling together. Love will tear us apart again, and then put us back together, and then put us back together, right? Thanks for being here, everybody, and for having a little chit chat. Yeah, I have a spiritual teacher, the Yashwani that I listen to, and she talks about that as like a natural form of expansion. The expansion is kind of healthy and natural order of things. But then I would say, but there's the expansion contraction, there's the highs, there's the lows, there's the loops and the spirals and the cycles. So as much as we're expanding, we're contracting too, which allows for more expansion. And then the ups and downs allows for like like vibrational frequency. frequency, right? Frequencies. And then the spiral dynamic, just to be, apparently it's like something you see in nature and like all the cosmos. So there's loops. That's why a lot of us will see certain patterns until we're ready to upgrade those patterns. So we'll shift, upgrade, right? And then we'll be in another pattern. It's like looking at a galaxy, right? It's like looking at that spiral dynamic, which really kind of has an underlying coordination through the whole entire universe that we're all part of. So, you know, when we look at our lives from that, in a sense, more scientific perspective, but quantum scientific perspective, you can see it. I don't know about you guys, like I'm going to be going abroad, and it's like, oh, that's from 2017, 2016. When you start following astrology, you can see how the planetary shifts and movements actually line up. So certain things that were happening back in 2017 are now happening with the planets now, bringing something back from the past. When those things are meant for you, they're meant for you. They'll come back up, right? When things aren't meant for you, you never get them again. Okay, you guys. Oh, look. So we looked about Sagittarius and Aries. I think we've got, obviously, Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries. This is what I'm talking about as well, with all this like heavy duty Piscean energy. I don't know about you guys, but like for me, it's been like best part of 10, 15 years of profound, deep spiritual work and a lot of shadow work. Still processing. I don't know if that will just continue, maybe, right? Just having that depth of emotionality. But this is about actually being able to move forward. So like a lot of us, or many of us, who knows, like there's been intense dreamscapes, landscapes, visions that I've had, and yet a little bit Piscean, just in this dreamy void. So in the next coming year, and then into 2026, certainly, and beyond, it's going to be time to act. And that's an awareness. I'm hearing something about the collective will be triggered, okay? If you're a forerunner, if you're somebody who totally gets this and been doing the work, and you feel me and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and and then we're all still going, where let all the muggles, or like all the people are still in their zombified whatever. It's like, no, wait, there's more to come. People are going to get triggered. And then people are looking for the answers which are within them, but we're all here to teach and share, teach and learn. This is another thing about old paradigm. I was listening to some astro people talking about, and they obviously run workshops and stuff like in classes, and one of them like said, oh yeah, when I'm working with my students and I just learned so much, she said, doesn't it feel weird to say like student? Like I'm the master teacher and you're the student. So that, all that kind of hierarchical BS, essentially, although there's intrinsic truth and purpose to all of it, because there are hierarchies, right? Like there is higher and lower, more expanded, more contracted. It's just that when we use those structures to oppress people, and it's an you know, there's a time when we believed that our politicians cared and wanted the best for us, or that we believed that our monarchy or you know, rulership classes gave a shit. And over historical context, there have been maybe some leaders and some monarchs and people who have genuinely cared. But we're observing, I would say, this is for our benefit too, but we're observing the dissolution of an old power paradigm. And it's that's why we're all having to face such deep narcissistic wounding, whether we are the narcissist or whether we're attracting the narcissist, right? It's like the narcissism is really a denouement, an impact of generational trauma. So any of us on this path, on this planet, who have the privilege to do shadow work, who have the option and the awareness and the intelligence to ground and to heal the heart, to have a clear perspective, to be in union with the self and other, right? To see this world as a perfect, graceful planet, as a regenesis, to be that, and to know that what is what this planet is, and to continue to be guided in creating the most beautiful planetary systems that we can embody. That's all we need to do. I don't need to do it all. I just need to embody that grace, embody that compassion, so that those energetic frequencies move through me, work through me. Because that's where we get a lot of mumbo jumbo in the so-called spiritual realities, is that as long as our endeavor is completely entrenched in the fear program, which also connects into a fearful economy, as in an economy of lack, this is where teachers and practitioners are often, there's stuff going on there too, because you can imagine that if you have the potential to heal somebody in this economy, if they're healed, you need to keep resourcing new clients. So think of it too, like our wellness and our spiritual freedom isn't good for the economy as it is. So this is why, as we change, so changes the world. As we change, so change those systems. As we change, so does change the face of the global political arena, the military war complex, and the, what does he call it, the mental health industrial complex. Like, recognize that most of the systems and the structures and the institutions and organizations that have been created and upheld with that at its root are gonna crumble, and we're going to continue to see more outpouring. Oh, sorry to say it too, but with that Neptune signature with the Piscean energies, we might continue to see more, what was that? The 2020 stuff, fear around dis-ease. Hence, where I'll always come from a place of free your mind. Don't listen and engage. Just do the work to feel well. And let's be real, most of us know getting outside, getting a bit of exercise, eating as much whole food, natural food as you can. And if that's not anchoring for you, like if you're knowing you have to do this, that, and the other, as in, I know I have to eat better, or I know I have to do it, but you're not quite able to get to the actual effective new patterning, do the emotional work. And this is the thing too, we can employ therapists, but mine coming from renouncing materiality and being relatively kind of financially poor most of my life, is that I'm coming at it from like, you can't afford the healers, the therapists, the going da 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 da. Your life will be your best therapist if you own it. So if you own your emotions, if you own all that you're feeling and that you're thinking, and endeavor to go as deep as you can in your emotional body, to be guided through it, to be lit up, to be shone, to know you have the faith and the strength, your reality will metamorph. You'll be guided to new places, have new experiences, find new books, right? I'm learning about the chakras in the nervous system, or the vagus nerve specifically. And the vagus nerve is fascinating because it's almost like a master nerve, and it really does like connect to everything. And I would dare say, in a lot of our cultural programming, it's our nervous systems that are being targeted. If we're living in fear, we can't think straight. We can't think critically, certainly, and we can't relax enough to actually thrive. And that's been my own personal journey. The more like aware I've become of stuff, the more I kind of live in my authentic truth, rather than like how people get programmed to live. Don't have a TV, haven't had a TV for 12 years, and like recently really aware of that it's just like work, grind, maybe think about changing a few things, but then just work and grind and watch TV, and work and grind and watch TV. And and that's those are those lower base tone patterns of survival mode. And then to break free from them, just in my experience, everybody's different, but like I for years didn't want to watch TV. I was over it, and that was the end of a relate. Not that the TV was the final thing, but like people thinking I'm like bonkers for it. And then actually when people listen or do the work, and as in do say if they're choosing to work with me, they're gonna actually do the thing. Because there's plenty of times, and we all are probably like, we all do this, but we can complain about our problems and be offered try this or try this or this, and we're like, yeah, cool, and then we forget or we don't do the thing. And that's a kind of cruxy point. It's like we want clarity of mind, but we're not going to sit and meditate. We want to be able to hash things out, but we're not going to journal about it. Or I want to get fitter, but I'm not going to exercise, right? Like there's something about, and we can do a lot in our mind. We really, really can. We can visualize, and that, I would say, do that. Visualize being different, showing up different, doing different. And know that it's the actual action that also creates the new. Action, because that is, and again, your personal reality can trigger you so that you can work with your triggers and go deeper and let the waves come and then transform whatever core at that moment is coming through for healing. And then so this is the healing. These go really well together, actually. Okay, so like, we're being guided to act. I'm gonna go do that thing. Oh my god, I got triggered. Oh, more healing to do. Blah blah. And then, oh wow, that has released. I feel a bit better. I feel more expansive. I feel whatever. I'm gonna go expand. So there's almost like this new spiral dynamic, rather than being in shitty survival mode, just work, so that we can reward ourselves with getting wasted at the weekend and then watch TV every night. No. Shift the pattern. Take action in the form or in the direction you want. So if you want more peace, take action in sitting down and cultivating more peace. Take action in a new direction to promote new expansion and to take us into deeper healing. Trust yourself. This is so way back in the Dizzy, when I published my book, like, there were enough people to be like, who do you think you are? I know. I was like, I'm just a yoga teacher who's intuitively guided and who wrote a book and published it about my process, my personal process, the way intuition guided me to work through and come to shadow work, right? Because essentially that's what I'm talking about, it just in slightly different language. And it's authentic. It's true for me, where I came from, right? But when I first published, there was a substantial part of my then established like yoga meditation community who turned against me. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you can't just tell people to feel other emotions. But really, that was kickback that people didn't want to be responsible. Like, well, you need a therapist, you need to be a clinician, or you need this, or you need that, or and I just thought, well, I just wrote what I wanted to write, or wrote what I was guided to write, which is about emotional alchemy. It's about feeling all the feelings. And that's what even practitioners, I don't know about you guys, but like, I've gone to therapists and had a sesh where emotion came up and they're like, okay, calm down. Like, they're not able to hold space, versus someone like myself, where like, whether it's me or whether it's a client that I'm working with, when emotion comes up, it's like, oh, clear the space, so that their whole body can go, ah, it's ugly crying, but with presence, with consciousness, with conscious awareness to move us through. Because our society, our working paradigm, or you could call it the patriarchal structure, or just that imbalanced worldview or separation worldview, when everybody's triggered in survival mode, nobody's got time. I've created a lot of time in my personal reality to be with the self and to explore and to self-reflect and to process emotion, because I've made it a priority. But then every once in a while I get reflected back. It's still not, though it will be eventually, it's not the collective paradigm. The collective paradigm is still very much work, react, and then escape, right? Work, escape. And actually, that's leading the collective to burnout, to the point that everybody's going to get trigger, and then be like, and then we're all going to find more people on the internet. Even my psychic said that. She said, just get ready. There's going to be more people looking for psychics, more people looking for spiritualists, right? What the hell does that mean? I don't know. Just being more real. This people would say, "Oh yeah, you're very spiritual." I'm like, I don't even fucking know what you call it, other than I'm just a being, a person who pardon me, who has thoughts, and that I've always been reflective. My parents would find me alone as a small infant child. They'd be like, "Where's Molly? Oh look, she's in the backyard with the dog." Like, or like my mom would peek into my room. I would spend hours just by myself playing. And then when I had to socialize, I would max out. I could only handle like birthday parties and sleepovers. Like, the amount of times I can remember my mom having to come fetch me from sleepovers because I couldn't deal. I don't know if it was like the people or whatever, or I would just it's not like I love people. I just max out. I get to a point where I'm like, I just need to decompress. I just need to be with myself. I just need to rest. Whether that's a byproduct of trauma, I don't effing know, other than the fact that our trauma is as much a part of who we are as all the good stuff too. Because we're all, with regards to trauma, like, in a sense, we're all in it together. And like, but at the same time, the more you heal yourself, the more compassion you're going to have to realize there are people like I mean, in a sense, this is the frustration, right? It's like you see people with power doing nothing, or worse, doing gross things, and then like hoarding their power, and then trying to be deceptive and thinking that we're not getting clued up and like knowing what's actually going on, you douchebags. So then it's like most of us are over here just being like, the more the good people get the power, it's like, there's a real reality to just living your truth and be who you are. And to me, and I think a lot of like creators that aspire to be of service or are of service, it's like any wealth would just be going to like the purchasing. It would be like funneling. It's be like taking on property, like be owning things, or somehow absorbing wealth from the wealthy to just give back to people. It's like it's like, how cool would it be just to be able to buy up all the property and literally just give it back to people who need it? Like, why does any one person need multiple properties that just end up sitting quiet, where the homelessness epidemic in many of our countries is skyrocketing through the roof? Like, none of what's going on politically, it makes any sense. Hence, Neptune and Pisces, it is the dissolution. This world that we've built, this world that we know or think we know, just it's just dying. Why? Because more and more people that used to keep it firmly in place are looking in a different direction. It's like, I'm not giving a shit about what Zuckerberg or people on Meta are doing. I share on it. I use the platform for my purposes. And I look to my future. I feel and see and sense my own personal vision, which is simple. Gardening, good people, yoga, maybe a bit of sunshine if I'm lucky, like surfing. It's all natural. It's all there. Eating natural food. Like, there's so much going on in our kind of overly politicized capitalist society that like none of us need it. Like, we don't need to watch TV. We don't need to drink alcohol. We don't need to consume Mackie D's. We don't need the majority of the shit that we're doing that simultaneously is keeping us imprisoned. That's part of like this ultimate spiritual quest. That's part of my own journey of like renouncing materiality, because I saw how that stuff and things had power over people. And I was just like, I'd rather not, actually. I'd rather not be, a slave to having this thing or being that way. Plus, like, my deep knowing was like, that shit is actually not that powerful. But hey ho, I'll be in the massive flow. I can see Kurt Mill. Hey, Kurt. I think I'm gonna leave Instagram. Ugh, I feel you. I've heard of Blue Sky as well. I'm on Blue Sky. I haven't really used it though. Yeah, check you out. Although I feel you. It's like, so there's like the WhatsApp and there's Meta. Meta has become and continued, like, these are all becoming kind of conglomerates, aren't they? And then there's the TikTok ban. I'm curious about my American audience and how you guys feel about that. I am most of my creators that I listen to on TikTok are American as well, which okay, wicked. Yeah, nice one. So thanks for bringing that up, Kurt, because I agree, and as some of you I engage with on Insta and Facebook. So if that disappears, we can go to Blue Sky. I don't know, or SMTH. I'm not sure what that is. SMTH. I'll continue on the TikTok because I really want to get to enough followers so I can do live readings like I do here, which are really just a chance to chit chat with you all and like share from the heart, the holla holla shazam. Because it's 4:20 in the morning. It's 4:20. It's just like I just got in the habit of we camp early, possibly out of survival mode. But now we are, and so yeah, I'm looking down at these cards and being like, there's new energy spreading, way lovers. Follow it, follow it. Be bold, take a risk. That's part of living intuitively. It's not like living intuitively, suddenly everything is magical and way, 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 way better. It's just that when you live intuitively, you just get used to making decisions that feel good rather than waiting for some physical, obvious thing to be like, this is your permission to feel good. And this is something else about our emotions, is that so Cam was saying like, oh, emotions don't matter, or like they're not real or whatever. And then I was like, well, they are. They're as real as anything else. The clincher is that we think we're victimized by them. We think that they're against us or that they're like separate. I'm like, well, no, if you're having an emotion, what the heck is going on? So if I'm thinking really shitty thoughts, I'm more than likely in some shitty emotional frequency. That's the importance. They are important. I think more like what he was trying to say was that they're all temporary, like this entire reality, like this entire existence. Like that is part of the beauty and the love of eternal life, is that the expression, a finite expression of that which is infinite. And that when you know yourself to be infinite, this finite expression, you don't need to be so attached to it. Because I'm going to die, as in I'm going to leave my body. I'm going to vacate this earthly realm. See ya! Not like today, but one day my body will be old and I'll be tired of this bullshit realm. I'll be tired, you know? And there will come a moment where I'll be like, I love you all. Bye-bye. Ha! And then I will be poking you from beyond the veil to be like, wake up before you go. Oh, come on. Keep loving each other, you guys. I know it's hard because I do the work myself, and I'm aware that busting through all these deep emotional layers and working through our child, and I'm aware that I'm unmarried, never been married. I don't have kids. Like I have a lot of time and space on my hands, comparatively speaking. So when I look at my friends with children and I look at my family with kids, with jobs, with spouses, I'm like, yeah, no kidding. They don't have time for shadow work. Is that, do you know what I'm saying? No wonder they don't have time for shadow work, because I know how much time I've spent processing the densities of life, the densities of my ancestors. I have an interesting ancestral lineage because both my parents are adopted, which is why I think I was intuitively called to travel, because it turns out that my biological family, some of them live here in the UK. What? It's like, yeah, that happened. And now the guidance just continues. I'm off to a hot country to teach yoga for a few months. I don't know. Life, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. And yet I would dare say, like, even with her, there was a time where I was probably a little bit more egoically attached to the future. And now that's all been broken down and taken away from me. So I'm like, don't give any more razzmatazzes, but like straight up legit, like endeavor shadow work if you dare. Know that it might be a lonely road for a while, but like, when it comes to ultimate freedom and liberation, the truth shall set you free, not the matrix, okay? The truth shall set you free, not the TV. Not Hala MJ on the YouTube. I fucking wish I could set people free. What? I would do it for free. Obey. Okay. All I can do is lead by example, right? The more free I become, the more you guys will be like, ooh, that looks tantalizing. And I'll be like, come along. Come along. There's a song. I can't fucking pick it out the clouds, but it's more that come along is in it, but then I keep hearing Sim Simma. Who got the keys to my bima? Who am I? It's just, this is the point where I know I'm going a little bit delirious. And either I want more coffee or I need to just have a good little cough or something. I don't know. Thing is, the cards are just this innocent bystander. I use tarot as a way to just channel the messages. And effectively, when I'm going live, it's usually because there's things going on within my being, and often is the case, I'll go to sleep and have this most beautiful stream of consciousness. And then I'll wake up and be like, oh my God, I need to share it. And of course, it comes out all like blah, blue, blah, 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 blah. And because I'm not actually making notes, often I'm like, is that what I was thinking about? Some threads come through and I'm like, yes, that. And I'm sure there were threads about like, we're not going to evolve by expanding more through a capitalist expanding. Progress does not equal expansion. I mean, this weird separation consciousness, progress is just like hoarding. And, it's stealing and hoarding. Ooh, progress. Yeah. And then we're all being like, it's okay. Just steal from us and take everything and take all the resources. And we'll just be your like, obedient slaves forever. Meanwhile, it's like, actually, that earth is for all of us. That water is for all of us. And who are these corporate entities who are like, we own the water? Like when did that happen? When did you claim it? And guess what? Through our own deception, we fuel it. All of our consumption patterns are good, funneling more money up into these big corporations who are then be like, ha, now you have to buy it back from us. And fuck, hence like, let's get together. Let's know our power. I am the earth, and so are you. I'm hearing, we are the world. We are the children. You guys know I suck at remembering words. We are the Exactly, Mark. It's like, it's against our true nature. So what is the path? Coming back to our nature. Which to me, I don't know. I'm my personal vibratory here. It's just like, I just love peacefulness and quiet. And I don't know, honesty, authenticity, realness, even darkness to a certain point. I've been through so many dark tunnels. There's almost, once you get out enough perspective, it's like embracing the darkness, embracing the addiction. God, we're all addicts, we're all brain fucked because of generational trauma. But even images of war, these televisions, these screens continue to just trigger and trauma us. I'm not going to lie, like watching war and violence on TV when I was like 7 years old, traumatized. You're like, why are you crying? I'm like, because they killed the horse. Like, that's sad to me. I mean, like, what's wrong with you, Molly? It's just a TV screen. I'm like, yeah, but my beingness didn't tell the difference. Plus, I'm aware that whatever they're showing on the TV is also representations of things that happen in real life. And what now as an adult, when I look back, I was like, I was onto something. Just because the kids and girls in my school were completely desensitized or like couldn't feel the pain of like war and stuff, and they're just like, yeah, I'm like, it's okay, but again, I now look back and also realize that another psychiatrist could interpret my sensitivity as a young person could have been an effect of the trauma. But then that makes me think of how we're all totally traumatized. And if anything, if you think you're not traumatized, you're like, although I think there's people that are pretty well. I think there's people that are like feeling the vibratories, but I would be a little like suspicious, because like generational trauma is obviously like, just because like your mom and dad did great and like you're feeling da, there could still be generational trauma. I mean, God, most of us living in this world, let's be real, there's got to be something. Even being the oppressor, like even if some of your ancestors like oppressed other people, that's traumatic. You know, having to like uphold this belief that you're better than everybody else, and thus your parents were justified or your ancestors were justified in killing like that. All of that bullshit has got to kind of go down the poo-poo drain. Pun intended. Pun intended, right? So that we can like actually clean it up. You have to look at it to clean it up usually. It's nice. Let's talk about shit some more. Oh, the joys, the joys. You guys are my joy. This is my joy. I'm happy to be here, genuinely. Nice to see some of my besties, Mark, Kurt, Millie, Floyd, Michelle, Zonin, nice to be here. If you're new here, feel free to like and subscribe. I think I've had a little bit of a YouTube dump, a sub dump. Some of the channels I see say that happens, like you're suddenly looking and like people, and I've only had a couple of you reflect to me that has happened to you. So double check that you are subscribed, because sometimes for whatever reason, YouTube like might interpret your channel as a bot and unsubscribe you from me. So if you want regular updates, hit the notification bell. Thanks everybody for being here. Again, straight up legit, so good to see you all. It feels like a good vibratories, as much as there's going to continue to be hardcore turbulence in the collective. Here we go. Here we go. Goes on my business, love. So yeah, those trigger points, but the more we can anchor in the shadow work vibratory, the quicker. And that's something too, I could say after like all these years of doing shadow work or just emotional healing work, it's all like, I still get triggered, hardcore supreme. I'm just better and quicker at processing, holding space and processing, and moving through it, getting to the other side. And after hitting the rock bottom of the shadow work to the point of thinking I wasn't going to survive, and like that the emotional work was actually fucking killing me and taking me under, eventually it starts to dissipate. Eventually moves were made. Eventually some people left my life. New people entered. And like chipping, it's not like some grandiose, miraculous, quick fix thing. It's like a very gentle chipping away. And then you look back and 4 years later, you're like, oh my God, thank God. Like I'm more emotionally stable. That's all. And that emotional stability is also reflected in the work I'm doing, and like the stability I have in my reality, and like it's all real. It's just there's nothing grandiose. It's like step by step, moment by moment, face your reality, process the pain, face your reality, process the pain. It's just that level of responsibility I'm not sure that like the majority of people fully get. And like, that's part of the darkness that I faced even within the spiritual community, is that there's a lot of shadow in any and all community. So this is why God would talk about not judging a book by its cover, because most of us are just covering up our shadow. Or like MJ at Ultra Love TV expressing it. Remember guys back in the day, like, trigger, feel it, and you're all like, oh my God, I love you, or not, or the other word, but we're not going to use that here because it's blasphemous. Just I don't even know what I'm saying, but I got to go. You guys are the best. Have yourself a wonderful little day ahead, or evening, or sleep. Now it's 4:30. Kurt, remember all of that? Like where I'd be like 20 minutes later, be like, see you guys, love you, have a great day. And then like another 20 minutes would go by. But this time I'm going. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the channel, promote it for me on my behalf so that I can grow my financial wealth and not be poor all the time. But even if I am, who cares? Because life is abundant. You know, the birds, the bees, the sea. That's all I really need. You know, somehow you manage to get through. Love you guys. Have yourself a great weekend. Remember vibrational hugs? Vibrational hugs. And do we ever do little kisses? Have a